Ready to escape into a world of books and pixels? What is up, YouTube? Today we are going to be reading a different kind of Thomas story. This story features engines from a type of railway called a narrow gauge railway. The railway itself is called the Skarloey Railway, I believe. I think that's what that's called. Anyway, the story title is Four Little Engines. Our story stops on this special railway are Skarloey Remembers, Sir Handel, Peter Sam and the Refreshment Lady, and Old Faithful. Dear friends, Sir Handel Brown is the owner of a little railway which goes to Skarloey and Reneus. Skarloey means lake in the woods, and Reneus means divided waterfall. They are beautiful places, and lots of people visit them. The owner is very busy, so Mr. Peter Sam manages the railway. The two engines, who were called Skarloey and Reneus, grew old and tired, so the owner bought two others. These stories tell you what happened. So that's interesting. Apparently, Sir Handel and Peter Sam get their names from their owners. I did not know that. Very, very interesting. The things you learn in the Thomas universe. Anyway, Skarloey Remembers. Sir Topham Hatt had sent Edward to the works to be mended. Near the work station, Edward noticed a narrow-gauge engine standing in an open-sided shed. That's Skarloey, he thought. What's he doing there? He remembered Skarloey and his brother, Reneus, because in the old days, he had often brought passengers who wanted to travel up to the lake in their little train. As the men at the works could not mend him at once, Edward asked them to put him on a siding close to Skarloey. Skarloey was pleased to see Edward. The owner, Sir Handel Brown, had just bought two more engines, he said. He told me I was a very old engine and deserved a good rest. He gave me this shed so I could see everything and not be lonely. But I am lonely all the same, he continued sadly. I miss Reneus very much. Yesterday, one of the new engines pushed him on a flatbed, and now he's gone to be mended. I wish I could be mended too and pull coaches again. Have your coaches got names? Asked Edward. Oh yes, there's Agnes, Ruth, Jemima, Lucy, and Beatrice. Agnes is proud. She has cushions for her first-class passengers. She pities Ruth, Jemima, and Lucy, who are third-class at bare boards. But they all four sniff at Beatrice. Beatrice often smells of fish and cheese. But she's the most important, said Skarloey earnestly. She has a little window which the guard sells tickets. Oh, that's interesting. A ticket coach. That is very interesting. Well, I guess the conductor rides in that coach and sells tickets at the... Anyway, I just find that very interesting. Oh yeah, kind of like a break coach, like Clarabelle. Anyway, I sometimes leave the others behind, but I always take Beatrice. You must have tickets and a guard, you know. Of course, said Edward gravely. Reneus and I, continued Skarloey, used to take turns at pulling the trains. We know everybody and everybody knows us. We whistle to the people in the fields, at level crossings, and in lonely cottages and farms, and the people always wave to us. We love passing the school playgrounds at break time, for then the children will always run over to the fence to watch us go by. The passengers always wave because they think the children are waving to them. But we engines know better, of course, said Skarloey importantly. Yes, we do indeed, agreed Edward. We take your tourists to the lake and then get ready to pull the train back. We enjoy the morning journey home, because then our friends from the villages come down to do their shopping. We whistle before every station. Peep, peep, look out, and the people there are ready. Where's Mrs. Last? Asked the guard. She's coming. Peep, peep, we whistle, and Mrs. Last comes running onto the platform. We'll leave you behind one of these days, missus, laughs our driver. But we know he never will. Oh my god, that is so funny. Mrs. Last, and she's the last one on the train. I bet you that was done on purpose. Anyway, we stop elsewhere too, at farm crossings and Styles? That's interesting. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. Where paths lead to lonely houses. Reneus and I know all the places very well indeed. Our driver used to say that we would stop even if he didn't put on the brakes. Skarloey sounding a lot like Thomas right here. Anyway, sometimes on market day, Ruth, Jemima, and Lucy were so full of people that the guard would allow third-class passengers to travel, and Agnes, she didn't like that at all and would rumble, "First-class coach, third-class people." That made me cross. "Hush, I say, or I'll bump you." That soon stopped her rudeness to my friends. Just then some workmen came. "We're going to mend you now, Edward," they said. "Come along. Goodbye, Skarloey. Thank you for telling me about your railway. It's a lovely little line." It is. Thank you for talking to me, Edward. You've cheered me up. Goodbye." Skarloey watched Edward being taken back to the works. Then, shutting his eyes, he dozed in the warm afternoon sun. He smiled as he dozed, for he was dreaming, as old engines will, of happy days in the past. Okay, now that's a clever way to transition into the narrow gauge railway. Have a story / episode where one of the standard gauge characters ends up talking to the narrow gauge ones, and they tell them about the line. That is a very clever way to slowly introduce the narrow gauge railway, at least. Or I think it's the Skarloey Railway. I think that's what this is called. Anyway, it's just an interesting way to introduce a different kind of railway, rather than just being like, okay, here you go. Anyway. Sir Handel. The new engines looked very smart. One was called Sir Handel and the other Peter Sam. "What a small shed," grumbled Sir Handel. "This won't do at all." "I think it's nice," said Peter Sam. "Huh," grunted Sir Handel. "What's that rubbish?" Shh, said Peter Sam. "That's Skarloey, the famous old engine." I'm sorry, Skarloey," he whispered. "Sir Handel's upset now, but he's quite nice, really." Skarloey felt sorry for Peter Sam. "Now, Sir Handel," said the fireman next morning, "we'll get you ready." "I'm tired," he yawned. "Let Peter Sam go. He'd love it." "No," said the fireman. "Owner's orders. You're first." "Oh, well," said Sir Handel sulkily. I suppose I must." When his driver arrived, Sir Handel puffed away to fetch the coaches. "Whatever next?" he snorted. "Those aren't coaches, they're cattle cars." "Ooh!" screamed Angus, Ruth, Lucy, Jemima, and Beatrice. "What a horrid engine!" "It's not what I'm used to," clanked Sir Handel rebelliously, making for the station. He rolled into the platform just as Gordon arrived. "Hello," he said. "Who are you?" "I'm Gordon. Who are you?" "I'm Sir Handel." "Yes, I've heard of you. You're an express engine, I believe." "So am I, but I'm used to fancy coaches, not these cattle cars. Do you have any fancy coaches?" "Oh, yes, I see you do. We must have a chat sometime. Sorry I can't stop. Must keep time, you know." And he puffed off, leaving Gordon at a loss for words. Come on, Sir Handel puffed. Cattle cars, grumbled the coaches. We'll pay him back. Presently they stopped at the station. The line curved here and began to climb. It was not very steep, but the day was misty and the rails were slippery. "Hold back," whispered Angus to Ruth. "Hold back," whispered Ruth to Jemima. "Hold back," whispered Jemima to Lucy. "Hold back," whispered Lucy to Beatrice, and they giggled as Sir Handel started and their couplings tightened. Come on, he puffed as his wheels slipped on the greasy wheels. Come on. His wheels were spinning, but the coaches pulled him back, and the train stopped on the hill beyond the station. I can't do it, he grumbled. "I'm used to sensible fancy coaches, not these bumpy cattle cars." The guard came up. "I think the coaches are up to something," he told the driver. So they decided to bring the train down again to a level piece of line to give Sir Handel a good start. The guard helped the fireman put sand on the rails, and Sir Handel made a tremendous effort. The coaches tried hard to drag him back, but he puffed and pulled so hard that they were soon over at the top and away on their journey. The line manager, Mr. Peter Sam, was severe with Sir Handel that night. "You are a troublesome engine," he said. "You are rude, conceited, and much too big for your wheels. Next time I shall punish you severely." Sir Handel was impressed and behaved well for several days. Then one morning he took the train to the top station. He was cross. It was Peter Sam's turn, but the line manager had made him go instead. "We'll leave the coaches," said his driver, "and fetch some freight cars from the quarry." "Freight cars," snorted Sir Handel. "Freight cars!" "Yes," his driver repeated. "Freight cars." Sir Handel jerked forward. "I won't," he muttered. "So there." He lurched, bumped, and stopped. His driver and fireman got out. "Told you," said Sir Handel triumphantly. He had pushed the rails apart and settled between them. Okay, now here's my question. How on earth would an engine even do that? I guess that's the way of saying that somehow Sir Handel rocked side to side so much that he managed to rock himself off the tracks? I mean, some trains can do that, where they literally rock themselves off the tracks, kind of like the rail equivalent of grip rolling in a race car, when you have too much grip around a corner. Anyway, they telephoned the line manager. He came up at once with Peter Sam and brought in some workmen brought some workmen in a coach. Then he and the fireman took Peter Sam home with Sir Handel's coaches, while the driver and the workmen put Sir Handel back on the rails. Sir Handel did not feel so pleased with himself. When he crawled home and found the line manager waiting for him, "You are a very naughty engine," he said sternly. "You will stay in the shed till I can trust you to behave." Peter Sam and the refreshment lady. As Sir Handel was shut up, Peter Sam had to run the line. He was excited, and the fireman found it hard to get ready. "Sober up, can't you?" I love how this implies that. I love how this is basically the fireman's way of telling Peter Sam to calm down, which implies that the fireman must have had some alcohol before steamed up Peter Sam. Anyway, "Sober up, can't you?" he growled. "Anybody would think," said Sir Handel rudely, "that he wanted to work." "All respectable engines do," said Scarlowy firmly. "I wish I could work myself." "Keep calm, Peter Sam. Don't get excited, and you'll do very well." But Peter Sam was in such a state that he couldn't listen. When his driver came, Peter Sam ran along to fetch the coaches. "Peep, peep, peep, peep! Come along, girls," he whistled. And although he was so excited, he remembered to be careful. "That's the way, my dears. Gently does it." "What did he say?" asked Jemima, who was deaf. "He said, 'Come along, girls,' and he called us his dears," simpered the other coaches. "Really, one does not know what to think. Such a handsome young engine, too. So nice and well-mannered." I guess that's the Thomas equivalent of the coaches flirting with Peter Sam, which is hilarious. And they tittered happily together as they followed Peter Sam. Peter Sam fussed into the station to find Henry already there. "This won't do, youngster," said Henry. "I can't be kept waiting. If you are late tonight, I'll go off and leave your passengers behind." "Pooh," said Peter Sam, but secretly he was a little worried. But he couldn't feel worried for long. What fun it all is, he thought, as he ran around his train. He let off steam happily while he waited for the guard to blow his whistle and wave his green flag. Sir Handel puffed away singing a little song. "I'm Peter Sam, I'm running this line. I'm Peter Sam, I'm running this line." The people waved as he passed the farms and cottages, and he gave a loud whistle at the school. The children all ran to see him puffing by. Agnes, Ruth, Jemima, Lucy, and Beatrice enjoyed themselves too. "He's cocky, Trick-Trock, but he's nice, Trick-Trock. He's cocky, Trick-Trock, but he's nice, Trick-Trock," they sang as they trundled along. They were growing very fond of Peter Sam. Every afternoon they had to wait an hour at the station by the lake. The driver, fireman, and guard usually bought something from the refreshment lady and went and sat in Beatrice. The refreshment lady always came home on this train. Time passed slowly today for Peter Sam. At last his driver and fireman came. "Peep, peep, hurry up, please," he whistled to the passengers, and they came strolling back to the station. Peter Sam was sizzling with impatience. How awful, he thought, if we miss Henry's train. The passengers arrived, and the guard was ready with his flag and whistle. The refreshment lady walked across the platform. Then it happened. The guard says that Peter Sam was too impatient. Peter Sam says he was sure he heard a whistle. Anyway, he started. Come quickly, he puffed. "Stop, stop, stop," wailed the coaches. "You've left her behind, you've left her behind." The guard whistled and waved his red flag. The driver, looking back, saw the refreshment lady shouting and running after the train. "Bother," groaned Peter Sam as he stopped. "We'll miss Henry now." The refreshment lady climbed into Beatrice, and they started again. We're sure to be late, panted Peter Sam frantically. His driver had to keep checking him. "Steady, old boy, steady." "Peep, peep," whistled Peter Sam at the station. "Hurry, please hurry." And they reached the big station just as Henry steamed in. "Hurrah," said Peter Sam, "we've caught him after all," and let off steam with relief. Whoosh! Not bad, youngster, said Henry loftily. The refreshment lady shook her fist at Peter Sam. What do you mean by leaving me behind? She demanded. I'm sorry, refreshment lady, but I was worried about our passengers, and he told her what Henry had said. The refreshment lady laughed. You silly engine, she said. Henry wouldn't dare go. He's got to wait. It's a guaranteed connection. Well, said Peter Sam. Well, where's that Henry? But Peter Sam was too late that time, for Henry had chortled away. Okay, that's actually hilarious. The fact that Henry just puffs away, and then Peter Sam is like wanting to tell him what the refreshment lady had said, but then in talking to the refreshment lady, Peter Sam misses Henry leaving the station. Anyway, Old Faithful. Sir Handel stayed shut up for several days, but one market day Peter Sam could not work. He needed repairs. Sir Handel was glad to come out. He tried to be kind, but the coaches didn't trust him. They were awkward and rude. He even sang them little songs, but it was no use. It was most unfortunate, too, that Sir Handel had to check suddenly to avoid running over a sheep. He's bumped us, screamed the coaches. Let's pay him back. The coaches knew that all engines must go carefully at a place near the big station, but they were so cross with Sir Handel that they didn't care what they did. They surged into Sir Handel, make him lurch off the line. Luckily no one was hurt. Sir Handel limped to the shed. Mr. Peter Sam, the line manager, inspected the damage. No more work for you today, he said. Bother those coaches. We must take the village people home and fetch the tourists, all without an engine? What about me, sir, said a voice. Skarloey, he exclaimed. Can you do it? I'll try, answered the old engine. The coaches stood at the platform. Skarloey advanced on them, hissing crossly. I'm ashamed of you, he scolded. Such behavior. You might have hurt your passengers. On market day, too. We're sorry, Skarloey. We didn't think. It's that Sir Handel. He's no tails, said Skarloey firmly. I won't have it. And don't you dare try any tricks on me. No, Skarloey, of course not. Skarloey quavered the coaches meekly. Skarloey might be old and have dirty paint, but he was certainly an engine who would stand no nonsense. His friends crowded around, and the guard had to shoo them away before they could start. Skarloey felt happy. He remembered all the gates and styles? Anyway, where he had to stop and whistled to his friends. The sun shined on the rails were dry. This is lovely, he thought. But presently they began to climb, and he felt short of steam. Bother my tubes, he panted. Take your time, old boy, soothed his driver. I'll manage, he wheezed, and pausing for breath at the stations, he gallantly struggled along. After a rest at the top station, Skarloey was ready to start. It'll be better downhill, he thought. The coaches ran nicely, but he soon began to feel tired again. His springs were weak, and the rail joints jarred his wheels. Then, with a crack, a front spring broke, and he stopped. I feel all crooked, he complained. That's torn it, said his driver. We'll need a bus for our passengers. No, pleaded Skarloey. I'd be ashamed to have a bus take my passengers. I'll get home or bust, he promised bravely. The line manager looked at his watch and paced the platform. James in his train waited impatiently too. Then they heard a hoarse peep peep, then groaning, clanging and clanking. Skarloey crept into sight. He was tilted to one side and making fearful noises, but he plodded bravely on. I'll do it, he gasped between the clanks and groans. I've done it. And he sighed thankfully as the train stopped where James was waiting. James said nothing. He waited for his passengers and then respectfully puffed away. You were right, sir, said Skarloey to the owner that evening. Old engines can't pull trains like young ones, they smiled. They can if they're mended, old faithful, he said. And that's what will happen to you. You deserve it. Oh, sir, said Skarloey happily. Sir Handel is longing for Skarloey to come back. He thinks Skarloey is the best engine in the world. He does his fair share of the work now, and the coaches never plays tricks on him because he always manages them in Skarloey's way. Now, interestingly enough, at the bottom of this story, there's actually a at the bottom of these story stops, wait, let me make sure. Yep. At the bottom of these story stops, there's a little excerpt down at the bottom here that says, if you have enjoyed these stories, you will enjoy a visit to the Tallywin Railway at Town in Wales. Now, in case you're wondering what the Tallywin Railway is, the Tallywin Railway is actually a railway in Town Wales, obviously, where all of the Skarloey engines were based on. Or no, all of the narrow gauge engines were based on the Tallywin Railway, which is very interesting. So yeah, it's literally like visiting that railway, and yeah, it's very interesting. In fact, there's even a diesel called Fred, who also is based on one of these engines as well, which is very interesting. Oh no, he's been featured in a few fan-made Thomas projects as a character. But anyway, that's what that little excerpt means. So, without further ado, if y'all want to see more videos like this one, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll talk to y'all in the next one.